Whether you're new to pool and practicing the basics, or a more experienced player performing drills to improve your shot making and positional play, the Drill Partner is perfect for you.
Hang on a second. No audio. Let's try this again. It's not a good start for a podcast. We don't got any audio, Jason.
No audio.
All right. How about now? Let us know now if you guys can hear us live from Rail Yard Bears. We're a little bit different than what we were yesterday out at Lou's room. Hopefully everything's picking up now. Maybe you guys can let us know in the chat.
Already dogged it.
Already thought, well, you know, the sound, I mean,
No sound still?
the show. No audio? Okay. Maybe we might have to. It says there we go. So
Should I be hearing anything?
better. All right, here we go. So we're in. All right, let's start it again one more time. Give me your first thoughts on the first 2 days when it comes to your horse, your guy, Fedor, the guy warming up in the background there.
Yeah, I mean, I can kind of touch on both players. Obviously, I think they both came in a bit nervy. A ton of pressure in the match.
Right.
Some uncharacteristic things from Fedor that he's not normally kind of doing. And he talked a little shit
Yeah.
before the match with Shane, telling him he was going to drill him.
Oh, but that was like by
whoop him.
design, though, right? I mean, they're trying to build a fight. I mean, the kid's a UFC fan. It's we can't have the same shit going on in pool like we've had for the last 10 years.
Yeah, but you also can't kind of jump out of who you are and what you are. And
Yeah.
I feel like that kind of creates some unnecessary pressure to
Yeah.
put it on yourself. And I think from the inside, you feel like it's not going to do it. But from my perspective, just thinking about it, it at least has the potential to create unnecessary pressure. And I think that's where a lot of things started for Fedor. And this was a month and a half, 2 months ago. And there was a lot of woofing going on. And maybe it was by design to kind of hype up the match between the two. But I definitely think that he came in nervy. And then obviously the conditions of the table were very, very tricky and tough. And being a precision player and very robotic and mechanical, to not be able to hit your spots when you always do. 99% of the time you're able to execute. And that percentage drops down to 80. Now all of a sudden you're second guessing everything, and he's very
It's big
critical.
for those kind of players.
Very critical on himself.
For top level players, especially when you got a guy sitting across from you and Shane. Do you feel like when it comes to the shit talking, there's any maybe I shouldn't have poked the bear a little bit when it comes to Shane?
I don't think there's any regret there. I think it was a mild mistake. But at the young age of 24, I probably learned from it. And actually, I gave him that advice, so I'm not saying anything that I haven't already spoke to him about.
Personally, I liked it, man.
No, I mean, listen, you like it as a spectator, but when you're in somebody's corner and it has potential to create unnecessary pressure, it's not a good thing. Not saying that it did, not saying it had any impact on it. I'm just saying it had the potential to. Maybe that was part of the nerves. Maybe it was the fact that he was taking on the king of 10 ball for the last decade.
We've seen it like in all sports where it's like you try to limit distractions. You know what I mean? And so you can have a lot of things from the outside looking in, but unless and you're in that locker room when it comes to him. But I think all in all, when it comes to the first 2 days, and Fedor said yesterday when I talked to him that he thought his first day one was kind of like shit as far as his play. But I would almost weigh the conditions really high because they're used to traveling around playing on brand new felt, polished balls everywhere they go all across the world. And so coming in here and playing in a sticky pool room, and not to mention the fact that, listen, I mean, they're playing for 8+ hours a day. Like, I don't care if you're, 24 or 41, it's tough. Even sitting your ass down over there doing commentary, like it's physically difficult to do that.
It is a tough thing. And, obviously these conditions are different than what they prefer. I think that's easy to say. But it's not like they're a stranger to sticky pool rooms.
Yeah.
And it's not like they don't have the ability to adapt and adjust. I think both of them were pretty stubborn in their ability to make adjustments. I think that Fedor changed up a lot of his pattern play because he felt like the corners were playing tight. He started playing for the side pockets instead of just kind of taking the simple route. And if it played bouncy, guaranteeing himself a shot, rely on his shot-making ability, stay and take a little bit more length to guarantee shots. I feel like he kept trying to get perfect and kept trying to get perfect, and he kept putting himself in situations where he wasn't getting perfect and he didn't really have a way out, as opposed to just playing a higher percentage look at a ball and taking a little bit more length. I think that was the biggest mistake
And
that
it's
he
not
made
like
in day
he
one.
can't make a big shot when he needs to.
Right. Like just a 9-foot table, nothing's too long for him.
Yeah.
So if you're 3 feet away from the ball, it doesn't really matter. You don't have to get within 12 inches of it. I know it's ideal if you do. And under perfect conditions, if you're playing great, go ahead and get to that 12-inch mark.
But you got to play. And Shane kind of has that like almost bar box mentality where it's like he doesn't mind settling because, he wants to stay at the table.
Right. I'll take on a tough shot if it means that I'm taking on the tough shot and not my opponent. So I think from that perspective, I think they came in a little nervy. Neither one of them really had the break. I think SVB made a huge mistake in this match coming in, breaking from the head rail. I said it at the very start.
That was like right before day one started, whenever he decided to try that one.
That was a huge mistake. And I kept saying in the booth, actually, I cannot believe that he's sticking with it as long as he did. He stuck with it probably 20, 25 racks.
Got himself an 11-game hole during that time, too.
Right, and Fedor played terrible and was up 11. And honestly, I said this after day one, and I talked to Fedor about it. For me, I feel like Fedor played horrible, was down 4 games, feels good about his spot.
You would take that, though, right?
Feels really good about his spot, right? Like I asked him on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you rank yourself? We do that after every session. And he says 3. And I think that was generous.
Strong.
So he gives himself a 3 out of 10. He's down 4 games against one of the absolute best players in the world, the king of 10 ball.
The guy at the top of the mountain. You can't argue given his gambling, pedigree.
But SVB didn't play well either.
No.
So, from SVB's perspective, he's down 11, 12 games, whatever it was. I know it was at least 11. And then he plays poorly, breaks poorly, makes a big decision error by breaking from the head rail day one, kind of outsmarted himself. And then he still ended up winning day one by 4. Yeah. Played bad, made a bad decision of where to break from, and was down 11 games and still comes out up 4. So I think at the end of day one, both players played poorly, but they would take their spot.
For sure.
They liked where they
no
were
matter which
both.
side you're on the coin. Now, when it comes to day 2, for my money, as I'm watching the games, I'm thinking SVB looks like the better player through 3/4 of the day. But at the same time, going back to your point you just made, I would kind of take a 7-game, deficit, given the fact that, hey, Shane played pretty good throughout, and Fedor still stuck around. And let's be real, that's not the guy you want lingering around in any cut, whether it's tournament, gambling match, whatever. He's not the guy you want to let kind of stay close.
Yesterday, we saw very clean play from both players. They found the table.
Much better pace of play, right, for sure.
And they both found mild success on the break. I don't think we saw either player break to their potential. But as far as pocketing the balls, running the balls, holding the table, holding serve, depositing a ball on the break, and then being able to defend at least, both of them were pretty successful. We saw high level pool yesterday.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of back and forth, holding the table for long stretches. The 7-game difference is really the end of day one. That's where SVB went on the run. That's the biggest flash. That's the biggest run of pool we saw so far in this match.
What do you attribute that to, though?
Really his grit. He said it. He's a grinder. He's no stranger to this. But I will tell you this. Fedor gets up 11 games. He's not playing great. He allowed SVB to make that comeback.
What's up, buddy? How you like your chances going into day 3, buddy?
Very good.
Yeah?
Very good.
Where's your head at right now?
Well, I haven't hit a ball yet, but I'm feeling good, feeling fresh.
Ready?
Yeah.
Was yesterday what you expected?
No, I expected to beat him yesterday.
Yeah? Well, you did pretty good. You made up that 4-game deficit pretty quickly.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to hit some balls.
Go hit some balls. We'll talk to you more pretty soon.
Yeah, I think the run at the end of day one is really the difference in the match so far. It was pretty even yesterday, although it felt like Shane dominated, which is weird. It was a weird.
I say the eye test
result
all the time, but that's like as I'm watching, that's what I thought. And then at the end of the day, when I saw it, I mean, first of all, when he made up the ground, then I'm thinking, okay, hold on, this is what I saw on day one to start with. You know what I mean? Like 7 games to me is nothing. 4 games to me is nothing. Not when it comes to how he can break. But it's like, I would take it, man. Like I really, really would take it, depending on which side you're on. And I just don't know if the hardest part for me is that I haven't seen Fedor play a guy like Shane before with that kind of fight in a long 10 ball session, because he's used to being the guy to overwhelm you, not for nothing, but he's played players like a Tony or a Chip or a Jeff DeLuna, or I know Carlo was world champion, Co's a world champion, but it's 10 ball versus 9 ball. You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
Shane's just he's different, man.
I mean, it's his game.
Yeah.
And Shane is the one that will swarm you, and he puts it on you, and he puts you in a position to where he beats you and there's nothing you can do about it type thing. It's like if LeBron James is full steam ahead coming in the paint, he's going to dunk. It doesn't matter who's playing defense.
Yeah.
Like he's that dominant. Shane is the player that can grab the table and never relinquish it. It doesn't matter what you do. And that applies a tremendous amount of pressure to the opponent. And I think we saw that have major impact on Fedor.
Yeah.
And obviously he's one of the most mechanical players. He's fundamentally sound. He's built to hold up under pressure. And that shows you the type of pressure that SVB puts on you playing 10 ball, because he showed a lot of moments of weakness. And to be up 11 games and for SVB to fight back the way that he did, the reason why he was able to fight back the way that he did is because Fedor got weak.
At the end of the day.
Yeah. If Fedor could have snapped out of it and started playing good day one, because he fluked his way to an 11-game lead. He did. SVB played really bad. He played just good enough to grab a few racks in a row, and it just kind of rolled his way. If he could have snapped out of it and played well to end day one and just been up 6-7 games and not allowed SVB to have that last 2.5 hour run that he had, Fedor created that. He allowed that.
Yeah.
And it's not an easy thing for me to say, but it's the reality of it. It's what happened in the match.
Well, it's not easy because, let's face it, not just the fact that, you're his guy and, you're doing commentary and all these things, but like, you got a little something or a lot of something in the middle of this match. So I'm sure it makes it, a few more levels of stressness when you see these maybe not playing up to potential from your guy.
Yeah. And honestly, to tell you the truth, this is 100% accurate for me. The money never really matters. Like, I don't really think about the money. For me, I just want him to win so bad that nothing else even enters my mind. Obviously at the end of the day, counting money on the table is a bonus.
Right.
And it stings a little bit more when he loses, but I'm going to feel the exact same way, whether he loses and I lose money or he loses and I don't lose money. Like, the result for me is the same. So yeah, I'll definitely put skin in the game. Commentate it, and I think there's a couple different perspectives. Some people could say I have the potential to be biased. Obviously, I fight hard to not be biased.
Yeah. I said as much yesterday whenever we were talking, but it's not so much from like what I'm hearing, but it's natural. You're human, right? Like where your cash is at. Who you see who is close to you, all year long. So it's natural to be that way for sure.
Yeah, obviously there's going to be some tendency to be biased. I try to do whatever I can to just.
But that also gives you insight, Jason, which is great, and that's what fans want as well.
Speak to what I see, but there's a huge thing. There is not a single person on the planet that knows his game better than me.
Yeah.
There's not a single person on the planet that understands the brand of Fedor Gorst better than me. He sleeps at my house. I'm on the road with him. We spent hours and hours and hours practicing different things, talking about strategies, talking about matches like this, setting up matches like this. So to be able to provide the insight, like, when we go on break, we'll talk. Like, so when they clean the balls, we'll have a discussion.
Cornerman coach.
Cornerman coach. Yeah. Usually I'm sitting there with him.
How do you get that, like, first, let's say 4 to 6 hour Fedor to show up in that last 3 to 4 hours? Especially those last 2 hours, because that's where it's been the difference over the course of 2 days.
I think so. There's a couple things has to happen for Fedor today. Number one, he has to keep it close early. He can't let it get out of control because it has the potential to. The early racks mean a ton. Yesterday, he was able to go from down 4 games to up 2 early.
Yep, quick.
And he wasn't able to sustain that. And I'm not sure it's anything that he did to let Shane do that yesterday. I think they both played pretty damn good.
Yeah.
So it was just really the better player won at the end of the day. But, listen, he's got to find the break. He's got to string together some racks. His safety play has been atrocious. His jumping game has been substandard for sure. I mean, he hasn't jumped well, he hasn't kicked well, he hasn't played safeties nearly as efficiently as he normally does, and his ball pocketing in key moments has faltered. And that's what we don't normally see. Like yesterday, I believe he made an unbelievable kick, and then he was faced with a long forward ball. I'm used to just seeing that go in like boom.
Yeah,
It's down. Yesterday,
it was a great save by Shane, and then Fedor comes with an amazing one-rail kick to make that ball.
So we see moments like that, and those are the moments that are swings. And when you're talking about 40 games, missing a 9 ball here, missing a 10 ball there, making an unbelievable kick, and then not following it up and cleaning up the wrap, those things really add up, and you can't do that against SVB. Fedor doesn't have to play perfect. He has to play efficient, stick to his game. I think he went way too offensive in some situations yesterday, and he wasn't executing well enough to do it. If he's playing perfect, I want him to be aggressive.
Right.
But I think that he really needs to kind of get back to his roots and quit pressing so much.
That's hard to turn off because you're so used to being the guy to overwhelm the other. You know what I mean? Like, I think like
he's that moment, right?
Yeah.
He's wanting to like swing the moment.
And to his credit, listen, there was a spot in that match where Shane's up by 9, and I'm thinking, okay, this is where it can get out of hand. And Shane goes to the aggressive point, goes for, I thought, a low percentage shot on the side. And Fedor got within 4 after being down 9. You know, like he had spots in yesterday where he obviously the quit wasn't there, and you're never going to say that about the kid, but it's like to be able to handle the adversity, fade the storms, and then still be able to play his game, you know?
Yeah. I mean, there's just so many things that kind of dictate the way the match goes, and it's tough to analyze this match. And I said it in the booth yesterday with Scott. Usually I can watch a match for 10 minutes and say, this is what Fedor needs to do to win. This is what SVB needs to do to win. But these guys are both so powerful. They both have the ability to overwhelm, to your point, that I really don't know the key. I don't know the key in what one player needs to do versus the other player. Obviously, if Shane finds his break today, there may be nothing that Fedor can do.
Yeah.
But I really don't know what the differentiating factor is for one player to win this match because they both have so much firepower. They both have the ability to break perfectly for a full race to 40. They both have the ability to not miss a ball the whole day today and play perfect pool. So
he said he was feeling good. Where do you you know him?
So day one, I knew he wasn't feeling good. As soon as I came in, there were some negative comments just about different things. And you know, obviously that's stress, right? That's uncomfortableness. The table's bouncing, the balls are this, the light's this, the rack's this. You're looking for things that are wrong instead of looking for things that are right. And he's a human being. And it's natural.
Of course.
But, you know, me being who I am to him, I told him, I'm like, dude, you got to quit being fixated on things that aren't going to help you. You got to find something.
He can be
positive.
A little temperamental at times.
Both,
you know?
both guys.
Both for sure. Yeah, but we know that about Shane.
Yeah. And I think Fedor, a lot of people don't see it, obviously, as much as I do.
Yeah.
But there's some demons to be fought when you become the number one guy.
Yeah.
People
the
don't
hunter
understand.
Versus the hunter.
Right.
Yeah.
It changes the mentality. It changes the perception from you know, from him looking in. Obviously, it's easy to embrace the grind when you're climbing and you have a target and you have the guy you're after and you're trying to fight and you're trying to shoot. And then now all of a sudden you're up there and you're at the top of the mountain and everybody's coming after you. It's a different feel.
So what are you telling him today before you're coming over here to, you know, because listen, Shane, you can break Shane's will at times. We've seen it every December at the Mosconi Cup, right? Like if you overwhelm him, he can check out. You know, I haven't seen that from Shane at all the first few days, and I was really paying attention to the body language.
Early on day one, he was not engaged.
On day one, he kind of had his hands in his palm a little bit, but like you can tell he was just like taking it in. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like he was just taking it in, and he's been through this enough where he knows that, you know, you're going to have the ups and downs of it. And thankfully, it didn't get out of hand, at least from my standpoint, because I love watching a back and forth when it comes to rotation. But how do you get him to, like, what are you telling him as his coach, as his guy, to get him back into it? You know?
Yeah, so a couple things for me. Number one, you come into day 3, you don't really have anything to lose, right? The pressure's gone. Everybody is expecting you to lose from here. So that monkey's
you think so?
Off your back. I mean, listen, he knows he can win. I think mathematically speaking, if you were to run the numbers or whatever, he's somewhere in between a 3 and a 4 to 1 underdog. But it's Fedor released.
Yeah.
You know, so
intangibles make a big difference
and
when it
there's
comes to these guys, man.
a ton of variance in this. Like there's a ton of luck. There's a ton of different things, and it's winter break, so he has the ability to grab the table, hold it, and he's down 7. If Shane comes out and scratches on the first break, Fedor cleans him up and runs 4. Now all of a
What
sudden,
did he do
it's
yesterday? He like Shane started off with a
he
missed
the
5 ball.
Yeah, just an easy ball, and then Fedor put some stuff together. But with it being winter break, you're never out of it, especially at this level. But it is a short race to 40. I mean, basically, think of it from this way, Mike. They're racing to 47, and Shane is getting 7 on the wire. That's pretty fucking strong.
I know which side you take if you were just looking from names and not having any relationship with them.
He's won both days in a race to 40, and now he's getting 7 games on the wire in a race to 47.
Yeah.
So I think in Fedor's mind, he has to say, look, I'm an underdog from here, clearly, but I have the ability to do it. But more importantly, he just needs to find himself. He needs to play the percentage shot. He needs to trust his safety game. He needs to spend more time in his kicking, and he needs to find the jump cue. He hasn't found the jump cue.
It's crazy because we've seen more from Shane when it comes
Shane's
to the short
out-jumped
stick.
him.
Yeah. Give me how tough is it? And you've been around a lot of gambling matches. You've been around a lot of players. How hard is it for these guys to stay mentally sharp and not have any give up, whether you're ahead or behind after basically 16 plus hours of play?
I mean, they come into it and they know, like, you're going to be prepared. Shane and Fedor were both prepared to come in and watch a run go the other way.
Yeah.
They have to be.
Yeah.
You have to be. So you know that you're going to see a big flurry from Shane. You know you're going to see a big flurry from Fedor, and they're both prepared for that. They both played each other, 100+ times. These guys know what the other person's capable of. A ton of respect. They're prepared to come in to day 3 down 7. It's within striking distance. If it was 17, we wouldn't even be on here right now. Nobody would be watching.
If it's 17, it's a whole different story.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's 7 racks. It's within striking distance. It's not ideal if you're Fedor, but it's within striking distance. He can win from here. Absolutely. There's a lot of people that would say they think he's going to win from here.
Yeah.
He's an underdog. Let's call it what it is. He's an underdog from here, but it's not something that he can't overcome.
It's not going to be an easy task, that's for sure.
He's got to have fun.
Yeah, that's what, man. It's so funny you say that because I tell we have a few close friends of mine who play at that level the same thing because you'll see moments where like it becomes work. It becomes like I'm here. You know what I mean? Just like when you're clocking in, doing whatever the hell you're doing, it can be a grind. And so it's a lot easier to say it versus living it. I tell you, like talking with him yesterday, seeing him just a few minutes ago, he seems to be like in really good spirits. Like all things considered. And if you're going to tell me like through 2 days, I'm going to get a B- game from the guy, then look out because when he hits his gear, we've seen it in big tournaments, we've seen it in big gambling matches, where if he hits his gear, you know who he is, right? You know why he has the reputation that he does, why he has the accomplishments that he has in Fedor.
Well, I'll tell you, I've been involved in a lot of money matches outside of Fedor with very, very good players. One of them on the wall right there, Skylar Woodward, obviously been in the Dennis Orcolo camp for a long time. Scott Frost, Justin Bergman. I've been around a lot of great players, and I've been behind them. I've helped manage them. I've been in their corner. I've talked to them at dinner after their big matches, going for the next day. Talked to them during their matches. There is not a player in the world that I would put at the table ever to be down and fight for my cash over Fedor Gorst. He is not going to quit. He is absolutely going to fight tooth and nail to come back in this match. And he just finds a way to win. We saw at the Worlds. He was down in every match. Everything went hill. The dude just does what it takes to win. And that is what has gotten him to the top of the mountain. Yeah. Because a lot of people, when they face tough adversity, they fold. Not him.
But it's Shane, though, Jason. It's Shane. It's Shane, and it's 10 ball. And that's where those intangibles come in.
Well, here's what I got to say. And I think a lot of people overlook this. It's 10 ball. Yeah. But this game is so close. The odds on this game before the match.
We saw from Fargo rates that whenever they were looking at the last 200 plus games, it's time.
Yeah, so you take a game that is this close, and you introduce a ton of luck. Let's just call it what it is. The 10 ball breaks a ton of luck. We saw Fedor hit him dead perfect, get kicked in the side. That's luck. We saw Shane hit him terrible, hit both titties on the side pocket, and get straight in on the one. Yeah. That's luck. There's a ton of things that are going to come into play. Fedor needs some fortune.
Where he just has that feel, man, where he just muscles it, and then it's like he'll take whatever he can get at that point.
My point is, though, there's a lot of fortune that comes with this. Federer has to have a little bit of luck on his side today, without a doubt.
Yeah.
And he's got to take full advantage of every opportunity. He's got to maintain his serve. He has to make a ball on the break, and he has to be able to defend. He needs to be a little bit more careful with his push-out game. He needs to be much tighter with his safety play. He needs to smile a lot more. He needs to jump the balls better. And, I mean, listen, if he does those things, I know that's a ton. That's like a laundry list of things that he can clean up. But he's done all those things poorly.
Yeah.
I've never seen a safety play this bad over 2 days. Over 153 racks for him to miss safeties that he's missing. I think I saw him come wrap around 2 rails and put Shane on the back of the ball one time.
We're used to seeing precision, we're at the highest level against the toughest opponents under the most extreme, pressure-packed conditions. And so this is where, I think a lot of factors play a role in that, whether it's the table, whether it's the atmosphere, whether it's the guy sitting across from you, whatever. But let me ask you this from the stake course perspective. Hypothetically, end of day 3, Shane comes out with the win. Let's say you guys are within 10. Are you guys wanting to flip the coin again?
Listen, it's up to Fedor. I'll do whatever he wants to do. If he wants to play.
If he says yes, where would you guys put, you being in this camp, where would you guys say? What would y'all say?
Well, if he wants to play, Fedor has the green light to do whatever he wants to do. I'm going to help him in whatever business venture that he wants to take on. And there's zero chance that if he goes and locks horns and plays a guy that he doesn't feel whether or not he can win, if he gets out of this match and he feels like he doesn't have a chance to win, then I'm not going to try to convince that. I'm not going to try. It's better. Look, hey, I think you can win. Let's do it again. Let's throw good money at bad. There's zero chance I'm going to do that. But if he gets out,
he's also real sharp too. Yeah.
He's a smart guy. And that's what I'm saying. He's made bad decisions over the last 2 days. He's been offensive when he should have been defensive, and he hasn't been executing the way that he normally does. He's still way above average as far as execution over the last 2 days.
It's
for his standards,
right?
But my point is, as a stake horse, if you trust your player and you have somebody the caliber of Fedor, I'm going to do what he feels he can do. If he tells me afterwards, I feel like I can win the game, then I'm going to say flip the fucking coin. If he gets done, he says, dude, he's just a beast, ton of pressure. His break is too much for me to fade. I don't want to mess with him. I'm going to say, all right, cool.
Well, so let's say
look at somebody else then.
After you've witnessed the first 2 days and you've seen, maybe a subpar level of his game over 2 days, let's say you guys started from 0 from today, would you still feel as confident as some of the lines that I saw coming into the match of, let's say, like a 6 to 10 game spread of Fedor being a favorite?
Yeah, listen, I don't think it's
of if he brought his A game, right? Obviously, that's what we're saying.
I don't think it's of any consequence, and this I've said this multiple times. I think you could set the line Fedor -6, Shane -6. I don't think it's going to matter. I think the probability of it falling within 6 games either way is
we're
very,
at 7
very
right
small.
now after 80.
But you see what I'm saying, though? More than likely in a race to 120, one player is going to win by more than 6 games. This may be, one of those matches to where they might land under 6 more times than not.
Yeah.
But I don't think so. Listen, you could make Shane -6, Fedor -6. It really just matters who you like. I think the money line is probably, after watching it for 2 days, it's probably SVB -130. And Fedor +110 if you were to be a book and set the line and juice it 20%.
Yeah.
That's what I think it would be. I think Fedor would admit the same. Right now, Shane is looking like the favorite in the match to me. But he also hasn't seen the best Fedor course. And if Fedor was being the normal Fedor, we would have all be saying, this kid's unbelievable, right? So
what's he got to do to win today?
Be loose.
Without being the laundry list of things.
Yeah, be loose.
Have fun.
Just be himself, smile a little bit, and be fortunate. He has to have some luck, Mike.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people don't want to say that, but the pool, there's a lot of luck.
It is, yeah. And, it's kind of like it's a catch-22 because you'll see with the template, things can be more controlled, but, some funny things can happen. A ball can get in the game, to kind of stymie his momentum, you know what I mean, after the break. And when they're playing for the one ball to dress up, in the bottom left every single time, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's just and that if he just had a look, he's out. Because, and then his confidence, then he can get momentum, then he can get his engines going. And it's sometimes it ain't meant to be.
Yeah, it's just not meant to be. I mean, we saw the ball, the one ball get snookered. Fedor gets snookered on the one ball, hitting the ball perfect, 6 or 7 racks in a row, and then he's hitting them the same exact way in day 2, and he was just this much away from getting hooked, and he had to look at the one for a spurt yesterday. There's a ton of luck in that. I mean, yes, obviously he can find the speed. He can find the speed. He can have a perfect hit and produce perfect results. But there's still
I think your nephew's behind you,
some
messing
luck.
with you a little bit.
What's up, Enzo? There's still some luck involved in that. Obviously, Fedor has the ability to control balls more than Shane, but Shane has the power.
But let me ask you this: how does Shane beat Fedor today?
He's got to stay checked in, which I don't think is going to be a problem. He does have the ability to check out. We've seen that. I agree with you.
And that's the crazy part about it. That he's been so engaged throughout.
Well, it means a lot to him.
Yeah.
He's had this.
You think it's beating Fedor means a lot to him, or the money?
Yeah, I think it means a ton to Shane. There's been a ton of barking back and forth. Yeah. They were both on Team Q-Tech for how long?
Yeah.
They, Shane kind of. Well, he brought Fedor into Q-Tech.
Yeah.
He basically told the people at Q-Tech that Fedor's the next guy. So for the Q-Tech brand, they may have felt that it wasn't in their best interest for their 2 top guys to kind of duke it out.
Can't say I blame them, Jason.
I mean, that's stupid. Come on. They're both playing with a Q.
Well,
I mean,
I guess from a brand standpoint, but from the fan, I want to see them play 10 ball. I want to see them play 9 ball. I want to see them play 1 pocket. I want to see everything.
I mean, here's my argument to that. Does it matter what Q they play with if they lock horns? Like, you're talking about maybe the match of the decade. Q-Tech could have been the major sponsor of it and had both their players playing in the biggest match of the decade. They're coming out winning either way. They're winning either way. One of their players is going to win, and the other one's going to be great. So what's it matter? Let them play. But from that perspective, I see I don't know if Shane kind of hid behind that because he felt like he was maybe an underdog.
Yeah.
Or if it was a business decision that a manager at Q-Tech told him, like, it's not good for the brand for you to do it. Yeah. I don't know. I don't believe for a second that Shane thought he couldn't win, though. I really don't.
Yeah.
I don't believe it. I mean, I know he said it. There was a couple interviews and different things where he said, I can't beat you or whatever, and he was sitting on the dock
more
fishing.
just posturing a little bit?
I don't know if it was posturing so much as just, hey, we're both on Team Q-Tech.
Yeah.
I find it interesting that now they're not on Team Q-Tech together, but they're on Team USA and they lock horns.
It's
I mean, that brings a dynamic, right?
Yeah.
I think both these guys are the ultimate professionals, though, and it won't impact them come December. I hope.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think they're both very much like me guys versus being team guys. And don't get me wrong, there's pluses to being either side of it, but they're both
Shane much more than Fedor.
They're both very much they're winners at the end of the day, right? They got hardware, and they're going to continue to get hardware, at least when it comes to Fedor, because obviously being so young and being so accomplished already. Let me ask you this, and I'll get you out of here. Any chance for a 1-pocket match between these 2 guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good match, and I'll tell you what I really want. I mentioned it yesterday. The match that I really, really want to put together, and kind of horny for it, to be honest. I think it would do great. I think the fans would love it.
All around?
And all around.
Love it.
No, but an all around between Fedor, Filler, and Shane. And a round robin, all around Derby City style classic. Maybe extend the races out a little bit. That's what I think. I think that that's the match that I would want to see.
I ain't seen Josh really be too,
He's been playing kind of bad, right?
Well,
Something's going on with him.
I don't say that.
Not playing bad,
but I mean,
for
like,
his standards.
He hasn't been in any kind of rush to dance with either of these guys.
I mean, I'm just going to call it what it is. If Joshua Filler was here on day 1, he'd have been up 20 games on either one of these guys, no matter what the format was.
He can't break 10 ball like that.
It doesn't matter. There's no way he would have been missing balls like that.
Yeah.
I mean, they both missed a lot of balls. They both missed a lot of position. Joshua Filler, as far as pocketing the balls, there's nobody better ever. He's the straightest shooter the game has ever seen.
That you can't argue with. That's for sure.
I mean, and the most fear, I think, fearless. I mean, he doesn't really feel the pressure. It doesn't bother him. I think that would be the ultimate test for Fedor, for Shane, and for Joshua. I think it's the ultimate test. They're all around winners.
They both play all games really well. Yeah.
They're in. I mean, they're all so powerful in their own regard. I would love to see that, and maybe Joshua would need just a tiny bit more seasoning to be able to compete there, and that's crazy for me to say. but I think he's
I mean, you
probably a
can't
slight
argue
underdog
the way they've
in
been
Banks.
gambling, you know?
He's a slight underdog to Fedor and Banks, and a slight underdog to Fedor in one pocket. I think everybody would agree with that. It's a coin flip, or maybe Joshua, a slight favorite in rotation, 9-ball. And with Shane is kind of the wild card. He's not a great bank pool player, but he's very, very good.
Yeah.
You know, like it's not his best game. If you threw 8-ball in the mix, I mean, Shane.
We'd love to see it as
Shane's
fans, that's for
robbing
sure.
him an 8-ball, right?
Yeah.
I mean, his 8-ball breaks.
I don't know, man. Josh playing 8-ball, you know, European championships every year.
But dude, the break that Kachi and SVB can produce in 8-ball is unmatched.
That muscle,
it's not
the
even
timings.
It's just, the way that they hit the rack, it's just different. It sounds different.
All right, give me your prediction for the end of the day today.
Oh man, that's tough. I've
Give me I know what your heart wants, but give me what your head wants.
I mean,
what your head
I
says.
think that it's going to be down to the wire. I think SVB. Shit. I mean, I don't want to predict that my dude's going to lose. I think that my brain says it's going to be tough for Fedor to come out of this. I think that statistically speaking, SVB probably wins the match, but you know, I'm so used to and I'm so accustomed to Fedor just finding a way.
Yeah.
So I'm going to call it 120 to 118.
Fedor
Gorst.
Man, if it's 120 to 118, it's going to be thick over here all night long. You guys can check out the action at xpool.live. I think they have a last day price. I don't know what it is, but
yeah, I think
$20. Go support the pay-per-view. Jason's going to be in the booth. That guy over there is going to be hitting balls, hopefully breaking for a long time in Fedor. Shane should be here any minute. The room's already getting packed. We start in about